Welcome back to another family series, and all the questions have been super easy to answer so far. So, but our congregation just submitted so many questions and have valid things they want to know from their pastors. I'm just going to get right into it with this one, because not a lot of pastors can or will answer this. But I'm not on any dating websites. I don't go to clubs. I'm just living my life and going to church. So how am I supposed to meet the one? Ooh, the one. So deep.
Let me start by saying that meeting the one, I think, can be so mystical at times that we miss out on one of the ones. The Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and attains favor of the Lord. And I don't personally believe there is just one right person for every person. If you somehow miss out on that person, then your whole life is ruined and you won't have happiness. You know, two of us have been married for 32 years, love each other, great life, great marriage. I believe without a doubt that there are other people either of us could have met and would have had a very good life together. It wouldn't have been this one, because God is Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end. He knew we were going to choose each other. So the life he prepared for us was based on our choice. But I don't believe there's like one mystical person. You have to meet this one person. And if you don't meet this one person, then you're not going to have an amazing life.
That's a lot of pressure.
So, and so I think if you take that pressure off and then you go back to what we talked about, there's some criteria. There's some spiritual criteria. There's some natural criteria. We need to have enough in common, because how can two walk together except they are in agreement? Once I establish kind of what my criteria is, I need to have some non-negotiables in my heart. Now, my list cannot be so long that even Jesus could meet my needs.
Yeah.
But I do need to have some things that I'm just not willing to compromise on, because that at least allows me to have a better idea of when I've gotten to my destination. Is this person even in the box that I would be willing to consider? After that, then we have to put ourselves in positions to meet people. It's the same thing when it comes to growing a church. You got to have people that know your church exists. Then they got to get an invitation to your church. They got to come in and experience your church. And that funnel just kind of gets smaller and smaller and smaller, to eventually this group at the bottom have become active participants in your church. You got to meet some people. And we got to take the pressure off of the church only. It can't be that meeting somebody that goes to your church and is active in your church is the absolute best way to meet somebody. Because the assumption is we're both being taught the same thing. We both have a similar passion for God. And our philosophies about how to do marriage, how to relate in our walk with Christ should be aligned if we're both fully committed to our church. But if you haven't found that person in your church, that's not the only place you can find them. And I think one of the things we got to get better at as Christians is live life. I actually think we have made an idol out of marriage in the single community.
Yeah.
And a lot of single people think the only way I'll ever be happy is if I get married. I promise you there's some married people that are more miserable than you are as a single person. So marriage should not be the ultimate goal. A godly marriage should be a goal. But in order to have a godly marriage, I need to establish a godly life. And so part of what I encourage single people to do is start living your life now. Don't wait until you get married to finally take your cruise. Don't wait till you get married to finally take that trip to Europe you wanted to take. Don't wait till you get married to finally buy your house. If you're in a position where you can buy a house, buy your house. Decorate your own house. Because if it's somebody that God has truly sent your way, they should jump into the party you already have going on. You all should party together. You shouldn't be sitting on the sideline waiting for them to show up so I can finally take off and have a great life. And I think when that happens, it takes a lot of pressure off. It makes the wait time feel shorter. You think about when you're at home and you're waiting on your friend to come pick you up. If you're sitting there looking out the window, it feels like they take forever.
Yeah.
But if you get up and start cleaning something, you get them to start doing something around the house, you pull your laptop out and start working on something, before you know it, they're blowing the horn. It's the same amount of time. It feels differently when you get actively involved with doing something while you wait. Really, and I think one of the things that single people hurt themselves with is sitting around waiting for my mate to show up. I also think that sometimes churches have demonized places like dating sites. I know back in the early days, they had a bad name, bad rap. And there's some dating sites that Christians ought to stay far away from. But there are some Christian websites, some Christian dating sites that really is just another room. Just like if I went to the grocery store, I have the potential to meet somebody. If I take a dance class, I have the potential to meet somebody. If I go to my nephew's football game, I have the potential to meet somebody. A dating site that's a godly dating site is just another room. Now, just because they're on a godly dating site don't mean they're godly.
Right.
So it's not like I should give them a free pass, but I also shouldn't demonize the thought. And I shouldn't be embarrassed about the fact that I met somebody on a dating site. I shouldn't be one somebody, and Christians do this, man. Sometimes Christians can be, we sit around, I would never be on a dating website. Well, if it doesn't work for you, then don't do it. But don't sit around and make the other person feel like they don't have as much faith or they're not as godly as you are because they have chosen to be on a godly dating website. Yeah. What we have to do, if you're going to be on a Christian website, dating site, you have to make sure you still keep a filter. Still keep enough love for yourself that just like you wouldn't say yes to the first person that walked up to you in a grocery store, you don't say yes to the first person whose profile pops up on your timeline on the dating site. You still have to have a filter, but it is just another avenue where you have a chance to meet somebody, possibly have a chance to grab coffee with somebody if it progresses to that point after conversations. And you still have to decide, is this person right for me or wrong for me? And not just allow yourself to sit around. For most Christians, the only way they're going to ever get married is if it's the UPS or the Amazon driver. Because if all you do is sit up in your house every day and you don't ever go out, you don't ever do the things you enjoy doing, how can God send you the person he has for you unless he sends them at church or sends them to your house to deliver a package? You got to get out and start living life.
And most people don't meet their mate at church. I mean, there are several that do, but most people don't. You meet someone at work, through a friend, through socialization. We didn't meet at church. I mean, we met in college, and he wasn't in my class. So it wasn't that I was just going to class and coming, back to my dorm thinking I'm going to meet somebody.
What did you do to try to hook me? We'll tell y'all next time what you did to try to reel me in.
Me reel him in.
Right.
But I mean, so most people don't, but you have to be open. And I remember years ago, speaking to a young lady and, she was actually in a dance class, line dance class or some kind of dance class. And she came back and said, Pastor April, I got this person trying to approach me, but they're, in this dance class. And I just looked at her, and to this day, she'll come back and say, those words changed my life. I said, be open.
Yeah.
Be open to meeting somebody that's not necessarily just at church or at your job or whatever. And today they're married, got kids, and enjoying their life together. But sometimes you just have to be open to an open door that God may give you that doesn't look like what you thought it would look like, and it will give you opportunity to meet somebody.
I think sometimes we over spiritualize the meeting part and under spiritualize the marriage part. I met my wife in traffic, literally in traffic. But the other thing I think this is just like super practical. Put down your phone. Like I think about what if I was on my phone at the stoplight? I'd have missed Andrea, right?
Yeah.
People in the grocery store always checking the messages. Like the world is bigger than that screen. So look at that.
Good.
But Bishop,
maybe a meeting over the avocados. You never know. You may be in the vegetable department and you reaching for avocado and he reaching for avocado and the music starts playing in the background and everything slows down. You never know where that meeting may happen. Yeah. But that's also, I want to say this, I'm not trying to be mean to the ladies. That's also why it's important to look presentable all the time.
Right.
We get dolled up for these big events. I'm not saying you got to go out the house with full makeup and hair done all the time, because if he's going to love you, he ought to be able to love you regardless. But when men, to be honest, the first thing men notice is how beautiful you look.
Right.
I don't care what he told you. It wasn't your personality at first. It wasn't your humor. First thing that man notices is how beautiful you look. So single ladies, do your best to present your best to the best of your ability. Now, again, if it's a Saturday, you're just doing laundry around the house, you're going to run up to the grocery store, run up to the grocery store. You don't got to get fully made up, but don't have on your bonnet. Come on, somebody.
Oh, Bishop.
Right.
Come on. I mean, don't.
You're about to get canceled, Bishop.
Don't go out the house looking like you don't want to be found.
Right.
Because the Bible says he who finds a wife. You don't know if this might be the moment. You don't know if it may be as I'm reaching for the avocados or a lemon that I run into him. And all I'm saying is just make sure, ladies especially, that you keep yourself presentable. Casual presentable is different than dressed up presentable, but both of them ought to be able to show your best in that setting.
Wholeheartedly agree as a man. You mentioned, though, about when we're single, living our lives now, going on the cruise now, the vacation, the home. But especially for our women, I want to have children, but I'm not married. What do you think about single people adopting?
Yeah, we had thoughts many years ago, and we didn't think that at the time that was probably God's best, because you're definitely choosing to raise a child in a single home, but I think we have different views today as far as opportunity to raise or adopt a child as a single person. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the best way I would present it is, I don't believe it will be God's best. But it's not God's best for a husband and wife to split up and the wife's got to raise the kids by herself.
Right.
Or a female to get pregnant and the guy takes off and she's raising them by herself, or vice versa, the man's raised. It's never God's best for one parent to have to do the job of two. And so even though that's not God's best, I would say that's not something that a single female should pursue. And that also involves in vitro and all the other ways a female could get pregnant and have a child without sinning. I would say it's not God's best, but it's also not sin. And so as a young 20-something-year-old, that's not what I'd recommend you default toward. But I could also now, what she's saying is, now that we've gotten more mature as pastors and have been doing this for years and have seen a number of stories and realize every story doesn't fit into the same beautiful little box.
Yeah.
I would also say to the 40-year-old woman, or maybe even the late 30-some-year-old woman that has done all the stuff that needs to be done. Can I just pause right here? Just because you're not married doesn't mean there's something else you need to work on. Because it just frustrates me sometimes that churches can also leave this impression that if he hasn't showed up yet, it's because you're not ready. When you're ready, he'll show up.
So good.
You may be absolutely ready.
Right.
I don't mean just our desire to be married. You may be ready spiritually, financially, every other way. It just takes time for that connection to happen. And it may not be anything you're doing wrong. And for that female that's been doing things the right way for years with an S, and has been passionate in her walk with God, has been keeping herself righteous before God, and she feels like her time is ticking past, what I would say is you need to take that desire to prayer. If your desire is to be a mom and to pour all the love you have into a child, and you're concerned, not in fear, but you're concerned that window could be closing, take the time to pray. Because even though I don't believe it's God's best for a single parent to have to raise a child by themselves, I also believe it's better for a child to be raised in a godly home than a non-godly home.
Right, absolutely.
And so if a female has gotten to that place where she really desires to mother and has done things God's way for a long time and given space for that meetup to happen, has done all the stuff we talked about, has been living life, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't happened yet, I don't see anything wrong with that female investigating adoption, even investigating in vitro or one of the other means of having a child. Now, will people sit around and say she must have been fornicating? That's how she... At the end of the day, I'm not trying to be impressive to people. Right. The people in my life who matter, my pastors, my tribe, they will know that this didn't happen as a result of sin. But I also don't believe that woman has to completely give up her desire and right and ability to mother a child just because the marriage hasn't happened yet. Don't just go out and sleep with somebody to have a kid.
Right.
But I do think there's some godly approaches you can take that will still honor the desire you have in your heart to be married and to have a child. I think one of the things that people ask so many times, why is it so hard for godly women to find a good godly man? It's math. It's just simple math. You have, in general, I think there's slightly more women on the planet than men. It's roughly 50-50, but there's a little bit more women than men. Then you get down to godly men, church-going men and women. There's more church-going men and women than there are men. Then when you look at how many men are in prison, how many men don't like women, how many men don't have their acts together, just the sheer math and how many men take longer in life to develop and mature than women do. There just tends to be more women who are ready for marriage than you have men. And so it doesn't mean that God can't send you the right one, because, you know, if God's got to raise up somebody from a whole nother country and send them to you, he can. Our trust has got to be in God, but we also have to understand that it's not the church's responsibility to put on a matchmaking event, and we can't wait on the church to be the reason, because so many singles like, I went to the singles event, I ain't going to another one because it was 70% women there and only a handful of guys. That's the math of where we are in society today. And we just have to trust that I'm not going to the singles event so I can find my mate. I'm going to the singles event so I can have community with other God-fearing single people. And that's a part of just living life and giving God space and time to let that love connection happen at the right time.
You guys seem like you're in a groove with singles, so let's stay there for a second. And this question is probably every guy wants to ask, or I know a lot of guys have asked me, but how should a Christian man approach a single woman? And I think they're looking for going beyond the pickup line. Girl, you must have fell from heaven, you know.
That's a good one. That is a good one. And I don't think there's one kind of standard answer you can give. I would say, number one, view every potential female that you may be willing to approach as a daughter in Christ, as a sister in the Lord first. Because that's going to make sure you approach her the right way. She's somebody's daughter. She's God's daughter, but then she's some other man's daughter. And so I don't want to approach you in a way that's dishonoring to God or dishonoring to your dad, who will be the one watching over you. After that, I think we have to go back and realize that the way I did it in the world is not the way I want to do it in Christ. Which means I'm not going to approach you with the wrong motive. I'm not approaching you because I want to have sex with you. I've already said that the first thing the man's going to notice is your beauty, but even in noticing your beauty, I can value it and appreciate it without that being the only thing that matters to me. I think one of the things that men have got to get better at is two things. One, be direct about your intentions. See somebody you have interest in, it's okay to express that interest. I actually think that one of the best things to do, that's why church environments are so good, small groups are so good. One of the best things to do if there's somebody you think you're interested in, see if there's a way to get a group setting going on. If you get 4 guys and 5 girls and we all go bowling together, I get a chance to see you, see your personality, see how you interact in a crowd without the expectation of a one-on-one date. And if that happens a few times and I realize, man, I really like her personality. I've already noticed she's beautiful, but I like her personality. Now it comes to being able to express that, hey, I'd love to get to know you better. Would you be okay going out for coffee, going to grab breakfast, something that is low entry, but expresses I actually have a desire to get to know you better? Because remember, the purpose of dating is to investigate. So my first time getting to know you better is not in a movie. I can't get to know you better if we're watching the screen.
Right.
My first time getting to know you better is somehow us grabbing ice cream, us having a chance to talk, but it then allows a low barrier with the understanding that we're really just investigating. We're not a couple. I want to know more about you. I want to give you a chance to know more about me. But we have to also approach that with the understanding that if she's not interested, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. Men struggle with rejection.
Oh, yeah. Don't like that.
No, man. I would not approach her in college at first because she had a reputation in college that all the guys were trying to approach her and she was slaying them. I mean, like, nope, get out of my face. Nope. I don't think she was being mean to him, but I kept having guys come back, man, I tried to talk to that little light-skinned girl on the second floor, man. She turned me down cold. And I was like, I'm not going to be another trophy on her wall that she can say. So I would not approach her. I introduced myself to her, but I would not approach her in a direct way until she gave me the sign. And ladies, when a guy expresses some level of interest or is willing to introduce himself, if you have a mutual interest back, you got to be willing to give him a sign. You say, what is the sign? It's different for every couple.
Yeah.
But you got to, in some way, let him know. If you wanted to go further, investigate further, I wouldn't be opposed to that. In our case, I was in a fraternity. We're outside in front of our dorm. We're stepping and just kind of guying around. And she and her roommate in their dorm room window turned on a song, turned on loud too. Put the speaker in the window, turned on loud. It's the song Back to Life. You know, back to life, back to reality. And we start stepping around and out there. And after a while, we looked up at the two of them, and me and my friend said, well, let's go check them out. So, hey, we went up to the room, came in, said hello. And as we're walking around the room, he's talking to her roommate, I'm talking to her, and I noticed that she's got a picture of some guy on her mantle. And I was like, is that you? She's like, this is her words, but he's in England. You know what that said to me? Sick him to a bulldog. What she was saying, though, is, and come to find out, they had been in a relationship, it wasn't serious, and she kind of had that picture up to kind of shoo guys away. But what she was saying to me is, if you wanted to take a next step and get to know me better, I'd be open to it. That's all I needed as a man. And now it's on me to take that next step. So what did I do? I asked to borrow her cassette tape. Those cassette tapes back then. Yeah. I borrowed her Back to Life cassette tape, and I held on to it for a few days. Then I came to bring it back. Bringing it back was my way to see her again. I came to bring it back, and her roommate opened the door. I said, is April here? I borrowed her tape. She said, no, she went home for the weekend, but I can take it. I was like, nah, I'll bring it back. And I finally brought it back, and we had a chance to connect. But guys have got to be willing to put yourself on the line, take a step, at the risk of being rejected. If they reject you, it's not you, just not the right fit. And be willing then to go the next step. If females are interested, you got to be willing to give him a sign to let him know if he wanted to proceed, that you'd be open to it.
Yeah, that's really good. And you've said something twice now, and my wife does a good job of this with the young ladies, but just teaching young ladies to also be approachable. If you say you want to meet a man, you have to be approachable and open to a man trying to talk to you. And what do those signs look like? And
not just approachable in person, be approachable on your social media. Sometimes the stuff that these ladies post, you don't know what God might be tugging at his heart. And he reads, and you tell him, I wish somebody would step to me. I set them straight. And something you can come across so hard in your social media that even if your profile picture is beautiful, he's like, I'm not willing to take the chance because she doesn't seem like somebody that I would be okay, being with or being around.
Wow. Wow. I didn't even have to go through that. So thank God. You got time for one more?
One more.
All right. We got married. We're here. God fulfilled our dream. But my spouse has some very different expectations that never came up in our dating process. How do we navigate our different expectations?
Well, one, that's why we recommend premarital counseling, because in premarital counseling, you talk through most scenarios that you will find yourself in as a married couple and in your family. You talk about the finance, you talk about children, you talk about in-laws, you talk about money, you just talk about so many different things that will give you an idea of what page you both on before you get married. But with a marriage, if you just different expectations and what he expects. I mean, I think about stories from our old pastors with upbringing, an expectation on what dinner looks like. And I remember the story that they came from two totally different families. The wife came from a large family with probably 9 to 11 children. The husband came from a family of 3 children, and his vision of dinner, because his mom put forth a full course meal every single day. They ate on china, had dinner together at the table. Whereas the other, the wife came from a large family with a lot of siblings, and dinner was the spaghetti is ready, the paper plates are here, come while there's enough food. And there was no sitting together at a table. And so he felt very disrespected when they got married because her vision of dinner was very different than his. And so his expectation was one thing, and her idea of what, providing for her family looked differently. Neither was wrong, neither was right. But you have to talk through what your desires are, what you expect here from your the wife, what you expect from your husband, and work through those things and come to a common ground for your family. It always say if the lenses that you look through are what blue and mine is, I'm trying to get to green. You're green, then you get yellow. That's your family's lenses that you look through. So I just think that when expectations are different than what you expected before you said I do, you have to work through some of those things. It's not a carte blanche for divorce, or it's not going to work. I think you have to communicate through and get on and try to get on common ground on the same page. And if you can't, go to counseling to get that third person party in that's not biased to help you get on the right page.
Yeah, the ultimate goal is the book of Amos, chapter 3, I think it's verse 3. How can two walk together except they're in agreement? We're not going to go very far if we can't agree on the direction. And my expectations are part of the direction where I think we should be going. And the goal is get on the same page before you ever say I do. That's what has benefited us. We had a great church, they had premarital counseling, had good singles teaching, good marriage teaching, had good examples in front of us. So by the time we got married, we weren't completely on the same page on everything, but we were so close that the things we weren't on the same page on, they didn't wreck us in those first few years. But if you don't get that premarital counseling on the front end, maybe you didn't know about it. Maybe you jumped out and thought you could just live on love. And now you find yourself having to work through all those questions that we should have answered before we said I do. It doesn't mean it's impossible, but it's not going to work if you don't at some point get on the same page. So most times you can't get on the same page by yourself at that point. Because usually by the time the questions come up, there's hurt feelings, there's disappointment. You need to come in to let, say, qualified Christian counselor help the two of you see what you don't see on your own, help find the balance between what he's expecting, what she's expecting, so you guys can come up with not a blue set of glasses, not a yellow set of glasses, but a brand new green set of glasses that emerge between our expectations that have now been put together.
So what you've said in every episode so far, Bishop, is the point of dating is to investigate. So not to watch movies, not to Netflix or chill, but let me find out who you really are so that we have less of those unmet expectations.
And let me just add this as well. If the point of dating is to investigate, find out who you are, but honestly, before I can even get to that place, I need to also find out who I am.
Yeah.
And so many single people don't know who they are.
Right.
Haven't gotten established enough in what I really want out of life. And they're so anxious to be married that they're willing to sacrifice on the altar what my dreams are, what my desires are. As long as he likes me, then, or she likes me, I'm willing to consider it. When some people are a hard no from the beginning, because marrying them is going to make me sacrifice what I really have in my heart. Anybody God is sending you is not going to make you sacrifice your relationship with God. It's not going to cause you to sacrifice the dreams he put in your heart. And it's not going to cause you to have friction and pain in the godly relationships that were there before this person showed up.
This has been another really great episode, and I know the questions are going to keep coming. Thank you guys for your time today, and we will see you next time.